everybody. This is Rod Mellon, the Book of Mormon evidence guy, and I have with me a guest that needs no actual introduction, but this is Hannah Stoddard, and we have had a wonderful time here at the 35th International Book of Mormon Evidence Conference and the Firm Foundation Expo.
It's been so good.
I've already spoken once, and I think you're speaking again
in about 30 minutes.
In about 30 minutes, so we're going to make this quick. Okay, so buckle in, everybody. This is going to be awesome. So the last conference that we had last year in the fall, okay, so just if you're not familiar with Hannah and her work, she and her father did all kinds of documentaries and films and did research and so forth involving with the Joseph Smith Foundation, and she's just been like a whirlwind. I mean, you started when you're like 10 or 12 or something like that.
10 is when my dad started, and then we did the first documentary when I was 17, 18, and it's just been go ever since. So yes, and we've been producing like documentaries every year. I know where this is going. You're wondering where I am and why I'm missing in action.
Yeah, well, plus then she started a podcast and there's all this kind of stuff, and it was just awesome. And then this last fall, it was kind of like, okay, so every time I've prayed about this in the past, the Lord said, okay, I need to do this and do this and do this with my dad. And then when he passed away, then you kind of carrying on the legacy kind of thing, and taking care of your family at the same time. And then so last fall, you kind of said, I've been praying about this, and the Lord is kind of saying, you know what, I need to take a little step back. And then yesterday, when you did your presentation, you kind of gave some indication that, you've kind of given your all to the Lord, but at some point you also have not just these things that are important, but you also have to take care of that physical part of you that keeps everything else together.
Shout out to my sister Leah. She's always reprimanding me for it in a good way. She is awesome.
That's right. And you're kind of getting yourself, I think, probably a little worn down, stretched pretty thin with all these things. You're running property and anyway, so tell us about why the change.
Going on? Yeah. So we launched the 4-a-day podcast with the 2024 Come Follow Me year. Of course, it started a few months before that. Actually, that whole story was a miraculous story of that happening at all, because in September of 2023, I literally wrote down in my journal, I was like, I am too tired to do any projects. I am not going to do any projects. We are going to take a break. And a month later, I knew, no, we have got to do this Book of Mormon podcast. I could just feel it. Every single one of our family could feel it. And we had started thinking about it because, the Book of Mormon has always been so important to our family. In fact, the very first, well, it wasn't the first documentary, but the first documentary we released at one of your expos was on the Book of Mormon. When I was 18.
4-a-day?
Yes.
4-a-day Covenant on the Land.
Covenant on the Land, yes.
Amazing. It's still an awesome one.
Yes. On the 4-a-day model, which basically is if you take the Book of Mormon history, parallel it with our Latter-day history, the two match together. And
awesome.
And I had been feeling like we need to get that message out more. We need to share it with people, help people make the Book of Mormon relevant. I was listening to President Benson's talk, Flooding the Earth with the Book of Mormon. It was one of the I want to say 1987. I'm probably going to get corrected on that. I can't remember. But I was listening to that talk, and I had received like one of the strongest confirmations that he was a prophet of God and that message was inspired. In it, he talks about we need the Book of Mormon to be flooded. We need it to get out there. And I just felt this compulsion, like our family needed to do this. So we poured everything into it. I don't think a lot of people realize just how much time and energy and sacrifice goes into it. Yeah, especially since my brother Isaiah was leaving on a mission January 1st, 2024. So right as we're rolling out the podcast, he's leaving. And it was essentially my sister and I trying to do the bulk of it. And then like people helping. But it was also a huge blessing. I loved it, enjoyed it so much. And then in May, all of a sudden I just felt this shift. Like I couldn't just feel at peace with just doing that and focusing so hard, because we really did. Everything was concentrated there. And I really wrestled with that for a few months with a lot of fasting and praying. And also I wasn't feeling a ton of energy. It was kind of starting to take a toll too. So I was like, I kind of just for wisdom, I got to take a step back anyway. But I just had a few just spiritual experiences and feelings like from the Lord just saying like, okay, this studying of the Book of Mormon, like everyone loved it so much, but I feel like I got the most out of it. I feel like it was even almost a prep for me and my family.
The teacher always learns more than the student.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Lord was like, hey, I have something more for you to do. And I'm honestly still on a journey of trying to figure out exactly all the directions that we're going. But one thing in particular was that, so the Joseph Smith Foundation started as just a family. Like the website, I laugh when sometimes online I see people and they're like, this well-funded organization, like where are they getting all this money from? And I'm like, you have no idea. It's kids, okay? And it was a family, and it was
it's
just
a family affair, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I am an ambitious person in a good sense of the word, hopefully. I want to accomplish things. I'm always thinking big picture, worldwide reach. And so sometimes in the past, I will at times have thought like, okay, I want to expand this. Like, we've got to be bigger. Like, let's go get volunteers. We need to be doing more. And I kind of felt like the Lord was turning me back to our roots, saying, this started as a dad and his kids. It was a family who felt a mission we want to defend the scriptures, we want to defend the prophets, and we want to share the scriptures because the scriptures have the answers. And content, it's just a family, and that's okay. And it's just our family's way of sharing the gospel the best way we can. Like, we have video skills, so we tend to do more of the video and online, and almost this feeling of let's get back to that, just that feeling and that message. And at the same time, the Lord saying, yeah, this is a family thing. And that means also preparing to get married one day, helping your siblings and focusing there. And it just wasn't possible to do everything. And so I made the very hard decision. There were tears in July to pause the podcast.
Yeah.
And I have missed it so much, so many calls and emails. And a couple times I've gone to the Lord like, is that the right thing to do? Like, it's like, yes. But yeah, go ahead.
I understand that the Lord is not saying stop.
No.
He's saying, okay, the scripture comes to mind to sometimes you have to walk and so forth, right?
Yes.
And so everything is in the Lord's time.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the messages I got from your presentation last fall, is that that there's a season, a time for every season, basically. Yes. And maybe the season is, I'm sure that Joseph Smith would like to have had just, I'm just one guy. Yeah. And we're trying to get this message out to the entire world and so forth. But one thing that helps me a lot, and I think you're probably feeling the same way, and that is that the research that we do is, I think, important research. Yeah. And we do all that we can. We waste and wear out our lives to make this happen. But on the same token, I don't think the Lord needs us to waste our lives, because he has given his life. And it's not up to us to take this message to the world as much as we do our part, and he will open the doors.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to work harder and harder. And that's, believe me, I totally get that idea.
Yeah. Don't believe him. He's a hypocrite.
You work, and so forth. But sometimes you also have to be working smart. And that's one of the things that I think that the Lord is saying, hey, well, there's technologies out there that can amplify your message in big ways. Yes. And that's the reason why you're probably doing the podcast. But maybe there's even a time to even back away from even that for a time, so that you can. I had one person tell me one time, he says, I saw this funny meme that says, don't give up, I'm reloading.
Yes. Yes. So, hear that, guys? That is what our family's doing right now.
So,
I think it's also important. What I've also learned is, okay, so we're people here. And a lot of times, I talked about this yesterday in my presentation too, like the first time I met you and you're like, I was a kid, and you're like, oh, the person that's done the podcast. And then you find out like, we're all just people. And
doing our thing.
Yeah. And so the Lord takes us on journeys. And I feel like I've even gone through a very intense refinement over the last year. And coming out of that, I feel like I'm a completely different person than even the person 6 months ago that stopped
you
the podcast.
You seem a little bit different too.
Okay, good. Hopefully in a good way.
A little less stressed, a little more relaxed. but still focused.
Yes, and just even more confident. So there were just so many things that just through different experiences and circumstances that the Lord set up, that I feel like he's been helping me to get even more focused on what matters, because it's so easy with all of this research, and there's so much to talk about. There's so many exciting things, but thinking, okay, what's really going to help people and what is the message? And one of those things, especially in the last 3 months, which was something my dad always emphasized, but I'm coming to own this more for myself. Like, I know so many things intellectually, but all of us go on this journey of really having to own it for ourselves. And one of those things that has come so strongly, I went through some experiences, especially in January of this year, about the prophets and the teachings of the prophets, including the dead ones. So that we have this whole sacred cow that needs to be slaughtered.
This movement that only the living prophets.
You can only quote 15 years back. After 15, 20 years, it expires. You can't, And I grew up in a home where obviously my dad had gone on this journey of saying, like, no, every single one of the presidents of the church has a message, and we need that message. It's not even just like the old ones, like, and Brigham Young State, like, if you're missing
the ancient prophets too.
Well, the ultimate dead prophet, Jesus. Right? But if you could study Brigham Young your whole life, and if you don't have Harold B. Lee and you don't have Joseph Fielding Smith, you are missing so much. And I saw some circumstances where the Lord just set things up to show me Satan hates those men, and he hates their teachings. And those teachings hold the answer for power. And it's hard for me to, it seems like such a duh, but I just feel it in every little core of my being now. And that was something that just helped me focus, where I've been thinking, like, okay, how do we do that? How do we focus on that? How do we get that out? And so it's been the last year almost since kind of pausing the podcast, of saying, okay, Lord, like, where do you want us to go? And you're the one that needs to be leading the ship. And at the same time thinking, okay, how do we also do this as a family and make sure that family unit is strong? Like, we didn't have any family problems. There was nothing there was no problems going on that was like, we got to pause to address this. It was just, I really feel that every person is born with a purpose, but they're born in a family for that family to help with that purpose. And so that whether you're married or not, like, I'm not married, and yet I still have a purpose with my family. I still have a purpose with my family, and we were meant to work together, and we're stronger together than apart. And that's something that I was talking to you a little bit before we started recording this too, where there's so many women, and this is actually what I'm getting ready to go present on here. There's so many women that are struggling, like, I want to be a family person, but I also want to make a difference. I have talents and gifts, and I want to achieve that. And how do I wrestle with this, with feminism? And the feminist movement actually had a lot of good questions. They were bringing up questions about legit problems. They just had all the wrong answers. And the problem is, I have a serious concern with sometimes how we've addressed the feminist movement, in the sense of we've done a knee-jerk reaction where it's, oh, okay, a feminist would wear this. Therefore, if we don't want to be feminists, we should wear the opposite. So we're going to go wear prairie dresses and aprons and fabric with patterns, right? And puff sleeves. And because a feminist would wear a blazer.
And long. And so forth.
A feminist would wear a blazer, so we will never wear blazers ever. And okay, now we're good. Like, now we're Christian and godly, right? Or this whole thing of, the Victorian angel in the house. Let's just recreate that. The 1800s, like, they had this beautiful, idyllic, we'll just like go back and recreate the past. And the problem is, okay, no, we are living.
We're not allowed to do a lot of things, like write books and be attorneys and so forth. And when women were
this is the problem.
This is
in the 1800s?
Back in the 1800s,
In the 1800s, they were in the apostasy. In fact, they were so much in the apostasy that Jesus Christ comes to Joseph Smith during the first vision and says their creeds and their beliefs and their churches are an abomination. Right? So we do not want to recreate the past. What we want to do is we need to go to God and say, God, what is your vision for family? And God's vision for family is completely different than all of these other formulas and stereotypes and trad wife movements and feminist stuff and everything.
Trav wife. What?
Yes. We need to update you on social media.
The trad wife.
Yeah, so it's short for traditional wife, and it's kind of this. Again,
this is how old I am. Okay, so I'm like 60 years old, and you're like what, 17 now? No kidding.
I'm 30. I'm getting old. You're the one getting old.
Well, I'm the old one. Yes, that's true. You're 30.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, see, by some church standards,
yeah,
you're like, okay, usually you're like in the early 20s getting married. By worldly standards, you're just now coming into the time for marriage and thinking about your families and stuff like that. You're kind of in there. I think there's a lot of people who struggle, especially young women, and single women who are getting a little bit in the 30s and 40s, concerned about, but I'm not married.
Yeah. So I don't have a purpose.
But what about am I supposed to have a career? And I'll just tell you from the perspective, for example, my wife Tanya.
Yeah.
As she grew up, she wanted to nothing more than be a mom.
Tanya is amazing, by the way. Shout out to Tanya.
Yeah, she said, you know what, I want to be a mother.
Yeah.
I want to have a family. I want to have grandchildren. That's my kind of goal in life. But there's other women basically who are saying, I want to have a career. I want to have, some of these other things. I want to do some of these other things. And it's interesting because I think it's important that we realize that it doesn't really matter what we want as much as what God wants.
I will tell you, I remember being 10 years old and waking up and looking at my dolls. So I had these dolls and I would get them dressed every morning for school. I gave them these books. I would go do my chores in my school, and then I would come back and I changed them into their play clothes, and I changed them into their pajamas. And I just remember sitting there and being like, sometimes I watch these movies with, dad and mom, and these journeys of people trying to get married. It's so traumatic. Like the Pride and Prejudice. You're a little kid and you're just like, this looks painful, like a process. I was just like, I wish I could just wake up. And I was already married. I just want to have the kids. I just want to have the kids. And I wanted to have kids so bad.
Oh, I thought you grew up going, I want to be a documentarian. I want to be known as a church historian. Right? I want to know how.
Never saw any of this coming.
None of that when you were a kid.
Never.
Okay.
I was always like, 18, I will be married. I'm going to have 15 kids. I'm just the whole thing. That is what I wanted so badly. And God had a different path, and I've had received answers through prayer, why God has this different path and the things that I need to do. And so many times he's asked me, he's like, I need you to sacrifice what you want for helping others.
For a time.
For a time. Yeah,
not necessarily forever.
For sure. Yeah. But you have things you need to contribute. And I also feel, I was just actually talking to my aunt about this a couple days ago, because she struggled to have kids. And so many times was judged because she couldn't have this big family. So people look at her and be like, are you limiting your kids? And I grew up with all the teachings of the prophets, and I am unapologetic about them. Don't use birth control. Do not limit your children. There is no more important thing than the family, period. The most important work you will ever do is within the walls of your own home, right? I think that's Harold Bealey. Yeah. And absolutely, I don't apologize for that. I am not disagreeing with that in any way. But if you look in the scriptures, Sarah, Abraham's wife, waited till she was 100.
Yeah.
And she had one son. Rachel has two.
Does that mean she was
boys.
A failure?
Yes, right?
And of course,
no.
The answer is no.
No, she had a mission to do, helping Abraham become Abraham. She had this mission, and God was like, this is what I need. Leah had a lot of kids. Rachel had 2 boys. But you know what? Those 2 boys, Joseph and Benjamin, were worth 100, right? They're amazing. So it's not about quantity, and and sometimes I think we run after formulas and rules. If you are a good person, you will get married young. If you are a good person, you will have so many kids. And okay, I'm the oldest of 10. I wouldn't trade any of my siblings for anybody. I wish I had more siblings, So no, I am not in any way, but it's losing. I think we've lost sight of principles. And I think so many of our young people and young women especially they have questions, because when you go after formulas or rules, you don't actually fit all the circumstances. And so there are people that don't, and they're like, but this gospel thing then doesn't work, and I don't have a place, and how do I fit, and why is there patriarchy, and all of this stuff, and just, oh, my heart goes out to them, because I'm like, yeah, if you're fed formulas and tradition, there are going to be challenges. So let's address this not from a feminist perspective of like, yeah, like down with the prophets. They're male chauvinists and the scriptures are evil. No, the scriptures are not evil. Yes, we believe in the patriarchal order. At least I do. And there's nothing to be scared of. That's not abusive. And I almost feel like I feel blessed, actually, in a sense, that God took my life in a different direction than what I wanted when I was young, to help maybe be an example that it is possible to make a difference in the world. It is possible to, I worked with my dad so closely. We were a team, and I feel like I have a strong testimony of the principles of the patriarchal order, not the false patriarchy of the Victorian angel in the house. There's so many problems, and that's so corrupted. But the true patriarchal order, the patriarchal order of the scriptures, the patriarchal order of the family, and how we need to work together better as families. And that doesn't mean demeaning women. I've written 5 books. I've produced 7 documentaries. I can hold my own in debate. Like, I'm not like, and I'm not saying that in a prideful way. I'm saying that is the fruit of actually living the gospel. And I've done that in a family context. I've done that without abandoning my family, without saying, oh, I'm not going to have kids. I haven't put off having kids. I haven't pursuing a career, because if your sight is on God, then he's going to take your life in the direction it needs to go. And that's the focus. I don't know. Anyway, I went off along about that.
I think that God is basically a very, his plan is quite flexible.
Yes.
And there's room for everybody, from the traditional, ideas to more, modern, ideas as far as, what women can or should or can't do, or that kind of thing. And when I grew up, basically it was a lot more of the traditional family kind of thing. Like, when I say traditional family, I have a particular thing in mind.
Again,
my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but we had a little guy that my mom and dad took in, because we couldn't make it financially. So we had this handicapped child that we basically took care of for many years. And so she was able to continue to do her mothering, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
But was able to help, support the family financially and so forth, as my dad was doing his thing. So there's so many different paths, and there's not really necessarily a right or a wrong one. I think as long as you're following what God's path is for you.
Because I want to make this really clear. My family has always been my top priority. Yeah. God, and then family. And when I say family, I mean my future family too. Ever since I was I remember being 12 or 13 years old, and I just could feel like the Lord was like, your husband is real. He's alive right now, and you need to pray for him. You need to be thinking about him. You need to be loyal to him. So, and that has never left me. If anything, that's grown in intensity. And how I actually started deciding to eat healthy, because when I was young, my parents started introducing the healthy food, and I was like, I'm moving out at 18, and I'm going to go buy the ding dongs. I just want,
I've been to your parents' house, we had dinner together, and okay, there's some stuff here that doesn't really taste all that awesome, but I know it was healthy for me, which is the reason why I'm still here, probably.
We're on a journey. And but when I was 15 or 16, I'm reading Discourses of Brigham Young, and he talks, and he says that the way that we'll be able to live 100 years during the millennium is the mothers are going to start taking their health seriously, so they can pass healthy genetics to their children. And I realized, wait a minute, what I eat affects my kids. Okay, I remember sitting there and I was like, I will never eat chocolate again. I will never eat sugar. I didn't actually any of those rules. I'm not advocate, but that's how serious it was. I was like, I don't care what I have to give up. I'm going to do that for my kids. So the path that I've taken in my life or the focus that God has had me on has not been to diminish my family, future or present.
Yeah.
It has been, I really feel, and I felt this over and over, everything that I've done, the documentaries, the books, is actually refining talents that I will use to help my husband. I will use them to help my children. My patriarchal blessing talks about that, actually.
Yeah.
And so the focus is, it's not like, oh, I got to choose between like, am I going to be a good mom? Or maybe God has a different path for me. No, motherhood and being a wife is your role. Go to the temple. It's all about that role of being a good wife. But being a good wife doesn't mean you have to wear an apron.
Or have 12 kids.
Being a good wife means you are going to be matched with someone, and together you guys have a mission to fulfill. Be that team. Don't fight each other. Fight Satan together.
Yeah.
You know? And so if we can communicate that message to our youth and help them understand that, I think they can get back to principles and have a lot more answers for their life.
Well, you have a lot of people who look up and respect you and have looked to you for good counsel and wise counsel because of your background and things. So we appreciate you being able to take just a minute and have this conversation.
Thanks, Rod. I have to say, I feel the same way about you. I love all of you guys to death.
Well, you're phenomenal. You have a fantastic family. Thank you for all you stand for. And listen, everybody, if you are liking the things that we're doing here at the Firm Foundation and this podcast, go ahead and hit subscribe to the podcast below at our channel, which is Book of Mormon Evidence on YouTube. Also, you can go to our website, which is bookofmormonevidence.org. We see the entire interview on our streaming channel as well, which you can access to from the Book of Mormon Evidence. And you have an awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us where
the Joseph Smith Foundation, our YouTube channel. We have that whole Book of Mormon podcast, hours and hours and hours of content.
Yes.
And of course, the Joseph Smith Foundation website too.
Look that up, because she is not afraid to tackle any subject. I mean, all kinds of stuff, controversial or not, it's going to get tackled by Hannah. So, listen, we appreciate you for joining us, and hopefully you'll continue on to share the information that you're getting with other people, because there may be other people who are struggling with certain things.
Everyone has questions, myself included. So,
well, Hannah, I want to thank you again for taking your time to do this. Go have your wonderful presentation, and I'll be looking forward to it.
I will. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. If you want to see your presentation, by the way, you can go onto
the streaming
website and watch the whole thing.